Hello and welcome to Movies on the Side. This is Stephen Robles.
And this is Nate Baranowski.
And today we are reviewing the 2023 movie Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. No colons in that title, Nate. I don't know if you knew that.
Straight through.
No colons, no hyphens, no anything.
No Steven Spielberg at the helm for this one. He's just an executive producer. James Mangold of Logan fame is now directing this movie.
I do like Logan. I feel like you feel the lack of Spielberg in this, but maybe we'll get to that. I think this episode is going to go one of two ways, Nate. This is like a choose-your-own adventure. One road goes down to Yellow Wood. Roads diverge. No, one road, we're going to talk about time travel for 20 minutes. Or, number two, we're going to talk about AI for 20 minutes. And I think one of those is going to happen in this.
Can I choose neither? Because I have so many things about the creation of this movie that I want to talk about. And I don't want to waste any time away from this movie. Because this movie, Stephen, has stuck with me.
Really?
Like chewing gum on the bottom of my shoe.
Like white on rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm.
Of this movie.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Harrison Ford. This is his last Indiana Jones, right? Like, this is it. It's got to be it. It's got to be it, right?
He's 81 years old, I believe.
I feel like we need to specify here right at the outset. Love Harrison Ford. He's great. Star Wars.
Love Indiana Jones.
Love Indiana Jones. Have we done like a full-on Indiana Jones movie before? Did we do Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I think we did Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's when because I talked about how I traumatized
the melting and you.
I traumatized my children with the end of that movie.
Kids,
I'll link
go
that
back
episode.
and listen to our Raiders of the Lost Ark episode. Stephen paused it during the face melting scene, just so that his kids could get a real good look.
Not on purpose. Not on purpose. It was an inadvertent pausing.
You look at the screen.
Face
you look up there until you're not scared.
No, that'd be terrible. So there was an inadvertent pause. Anyway, I'll link that episode in the show notes for this. But love Indiana Jones. I think it's a great. I feel like in an alternate universe, if there were no... Nate, let me ask you this. If there were no Nazis, would there be Indiana Jones? Or are they symbiotically linked to both existing in real life and in the movies?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know what to do. But anyway, I like Indiana Jones, love Harrison Ford. And this, listen, Harrison Ford's doing his thing. He's being indie. But, you really feel the, how do you say it? The age.
The well-aged. Dry-aged 30 years.
I mean, it's a long time to be doing Indiana Jones. But, listen, it's great. I mean, I saw this in theaters. We went with the whole family. We went to the family. Now, I don't know how you feel about this. We watched the Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade as a family. Those two. I didn't do Temple of Doom because I felt like that one was creepy, but I don't really remember it, so I'm unsure.
Not as scary as, a little bit more, still scary. Still scary parts. Yeah. But I think when a man pulls a heart out of another man's chest, that's going to be tough to...
And it wasn't surgery. This is not like a transplant.
No, it was blunt.
Right. But we did not even think about watching the Crystal Skull one.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Did not. I've only seen that once. You were texting me the other day about Crystal Skull. Did you see it? Did you watch it again?
No, listen. I saw this movie, and I was so baffled by it. I thought, I have only seen Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom? No,
that's a different movie. That's a different movie.
Zelda. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Right.
I'd only seen it one time. I think like most people saw it one time.
You just see it one and done.
I probably saw it in theaters, I would assume.
Might have.
And the first 17 minutes of that movie are excellent. I recommend for those who guffaw at that movie, because there's plenty to guffaw about later.
Yes.
This is right before. If you go to the place right before Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones climb into a lead-lined refrigerator and survive a nuclear blast and getting blasted 40 miles down the road.
It was Oppenheimer before Oppenheimer.
Exactly. Before then, the intro of Harrison Ford, 20 years or whatever after he last played him, is so good. He still moves great, action great, stunts are great. His demeanor is perfect. Okay. They have such an iconic he bends down to pick up his hat and puts it on, and you see the silhouette of him. This is Steven Spielberg still doing his stuff.
That's pretty good.
It is great. Then there's a nuclear blast. Then there's a lot of CGI monkeys and red ants and aliens. George Lucas being George Lucas. But if you give me 15 minutes of your time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you too can enjoy the first bit of this
Kingdom of the Crystal
movie.
Skull. The only word that I associate with that movie is aliens, and then makes me never want to like see it again. That's the issue. But that's not really till the end.
Continued watching for a while, and I plan to finish it. Because it just feels like I should.
Someday.
Because still, Steven Spielberg, I know we actually gave him a hard time a couple times ago.
Yeah.
But he's still a really good director.
He's a good director. Anyway, this is not the movie we're talking about, but I do want to mention Cate Blanchett is also in the Crystal Skull movie, and Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf. He's in that movie anyways. But anyway, we're talking about Dial of Destiny.
Written out of this movie like nobody's business.
Well,
went off to war. Gone.
He struggled a little bit. But anyway, so this movie, it's got Mads Mikkelsen as the bad guy, which I think we've talked about Mads Mikkelsen like in Rogue One and in other movies. Great bad guy. Excellent.
Obvious bad guy, sure. The plot of this movie, I don't know how you want to, because now you have told me that you've also rewritten this entire movie. That's why you were late to record this podcast. I did.
So I don't know if we want to save that to the end. I don't know if you want to
save it. We'll
save it to the end. Okay. Let's just overview of the plot. The Dial of Destiny is this artifact created, again, we might have talked about time travel, by Archimedes that allows you to find wormholes in the earth that let you travel through time.
I believe it's tears in the space-time continuum.
Here's the thing, okay? You introduced me to the term MacGuffin. I did not know that term until we did this podcast and you told me that word. And then I understood the word MacGuffin to be like the object in a movie or the item or whatever that is like the plot. It is like the literal device of the plot. Not a plot device, although it could be that too. But it is the literal like object. That's right. That's the MacGuffin.
Infinity Stone of the movie.
I mean, finished it. Infinity Stone. There you go. It's. I'm trying to think of another Marvel reference, but I can't really. But anyway, the MacGuffins in this movie have to be some of the most insufferably named, impossible to remember. You got the Graphicos, okay, and then you have like the Dial of Destiny, which is like the vernacular, but the actual word that like Mads Mikkelsen says at the beginning, it's like the Archimedes. See
the macadamian, macadamian. It's something, something Greek sounding, or I guess Italian sounding. I don't know. We offended both Greeks and Italians to find the MacGuffin.
There
is like a mini boss MacGuffin, which is that Graphicos, which is just a map to the thing that gets to the thing.
That's it's a lot of things to get to other things, but that's fine. I mean, that's what Indiana Jones is partly about. Like that's kind of the shtick-ish. I don't think the past movies did it as much. I like
to think that we as people should care about it just through our own knowledge of the thing. Like we know just through living in this place in time. Like we know about the Holy Grail.
Right.
We know about the Ark of the Covenant. Like these are like big things.
Yeah.
Had you ever heard of Archimedes did, however, make a dial, and it was used to like track like
like in real life
fluctuations. It was never for time travel, obviously. It was like to
This was like a real thing though.
Yeah, it was like for like maritime travel or something. It was just like
See, this is a little bit like the Seder Square in Tenet. Did I tell you I rewatched that with the kids?
Ooh.
We watched it, yeah. I said, everybody get it? Everybody understand what just happened? Everybody good?
Now I have a map I'd like to show you. Next, Inception.
I'm going to show you 4 versions of this timeline. So a lot of MacGuffins. I have to talk about the beginning of this movie. This is where I thought we might talk about AI. But there's an opening action sequence.
Yes.
It has young Harrison Ford.
Uncanny Indiana.
Uncanny Valley, Indiana Jones. But there's an interview. I'll include this link to the Hollywood Reporter where they talk to the like special effects people of this movie. And basically what they did was AI, they trained some AI machine learning stuff on all the old footage of Harrison Ford from the original movies. And there's like a bunch of footage that didn't make the movies. So there's like hours and hours of footage of young Harrison Ford. So of all the things you could train on, like it was kind of the perfect example, perfect storm of like machine learning source. And so the opening sequence with young Harrison Ford, I don't know how you feel about it. It's not perfect. Way better than Gemini Man with Will Smith. Way better than a lot of other like de-aging or CG characters. Like CG Leia from The Last Jedi was okay, but
this is better. This is good.
Yeah.
This is good. And Harrison Ford, in the actual, when they first pull the bag off his head, you see it a lot in the trailer. His face looks great.
Yeah,
and I would say it continues to look great until he speaks or moves it in any way, or if it's lit in some sort of strange way.
Yes,
and it's meant to be kind of dark at different times. It's not there yet.
No, it's not.
Harrison Ford said in an interview, like, this is the first time I feel like I've been truly like fooled by it.
Okay,
but I don't think we're there yet. Not to my eyes. It's not. It bothered me enough that I was thinking, can we get a Harrison Ford look-alike for most of this? Or could we have less of your face? It felt like we got this technology, we got this AI to do a lot of what we want. So now we're going to really lean into it. And I don't think it was in show-off stage.
Yeah.
It felt like they filmed it like, we're hiding nothing, and I was like, maybe you hide a little.
Maybe lower the lighting just a little bit. Put a little more shadow.
There was something about his voice, which I think it was 80-year-old Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, lending his voice to it, but there was a kind of a lack of strength to the voice. I don't know if they tried to modulate it some.
Wait a minute. How?
He didn't quite have a lot of gravitas there. I'm guessing he just recorded his lines.
He's 81 years old. You're absolutely right. So when they filmed this, he was probably like 79, 80. That's wild.
I felt like the younger Harrison Ford detracted from me. It was really fun to see for the first 1 minute.
Fun.
But as soon as he started talking to him, I was like,
it's the mouth. The mouth is always the hardest part because the mouth. There's a lot of things happening in the mouth area.
A human face is so hard. And there's just times where it just looks a little video gamey. And again, we're saying this is probably the best.
The best I've seen.
The best.
Yeah, definitely the best.
Or the best in a more extreme way. There have been other like better subtle shifts and changes and like small Chris Evans for little Captain America, stuff like that. That's good. But like as far as full face de-aging, it's probably the best, and just it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, but it was the technology was impressive. Like ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, said they literally pulled out all the stops. So like in 2023, like this is the best they can do. Like they clearly stated, this is it. This is how close.
I'd give it 10 more years to bake. Bake this one for 10 years, and we'll be seeing young Harrison Ford long after Harrison. Well, I shouldn't say long after Harrison Ford. I'm not predicting anything. I'm not saying anything.
No, have you ever seen the clip of when David Blaine, the illusionist, when David Blaine went to Harrison Ford's house and did a trick? Have you seen that clip?
Best.
It is amazing.
Tipsy Harrison Ford just being amazed by magic.
But he got like ticked. Because like David Blaine like made him cut into an orange and there was a card in there.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford is like,
get out.
Get out of my house. Get out right now. It's so good. It's a cross between Batman and Indiana Jones. Back to this movie.
Harrison Ford did not like some of the age jokes written in the script. It had to be rewritten.
Really? It had to be rewritten.
There was some stuff that was also there is a rumor. I think it's through John Williams, John Williams gave us this music again. He's back.
Gossip show now. We're talking about rumors. Yeah.
John Williams, there was a rumor that the ending was changed. That maybe. And then the director, James Mangold, I think said like, no, it was never changed. But someone said, no, he actually was supposed to really go back to like 1939 Germany. And the whole changing it to the Roman Archimedes thing was a change from the original thing.
That's a pretty big change.
Rewritten.
That's a lot of set pieces.
I'm not saying alleged, whatever we have to do to protect ourselves journalistically as journalists here in the show.
Right, that's what we are. We really have to talk about that ending. I don't know how much you want to go through before we get to that.
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. But first, I want to say this.
Yes.
Indiana Jones, by this movie, has, one, seen the Ark of the Covenant work.
That's right. And open.
Two,
open. Yeah.
has seen voodoo work.
True. Temple.
Three, has seen the Holy Grail bring his father basically back to health.
That is true.
And also seen it turn a guy to basically bones. Four, he has seen aliens come.
Terrible.
Like full on Area 51.
Yes.
In this movie, he is still a skeptic, and that is unforgivable.
You mean like a skeptic of just of like God?
I've seen things that I can't explain.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but
I
found people. This. It doesn't matter what you believe, but how hard you believe it. That is the most hogwash line I have ever heard. What do you mean it doesn't matter what you believe? It's how hard you believe it. You think because they believed really hard in voodoo, they were able to rip that guy's heart out and keep him alive? He should be the most like, I believe everything you put in front of me. Nothing is real. It's all a myth. He should.
Yeah, he's seen things.
Be closer to being like a flat earther than a round earther at this point, because he's seen some stuff.
I mean, I would think he would just be the most skeptical dude ever, where whatever someone tells him, he's like, yeah, maybe, or it could be the complete opposite. Like, yeah,
could
maybe be. This the Ark of the Covenant? Maybe this is a toy chest.
At some point in time,
I don't know.
They see Archimedes with a watch, which it turns out to be Mads Mikkelsen's watch or whatever, buried with him.
Right. Yes.
And Indiana Jones laughs at the fact that there's time travel. He should not. That doesn't make sense for his character. We have seen him be through 4 adventures where supernatural or like really unexplained things
it's just
happen.
commonplace. Yeah.
He should just be like, yeah,
whatever.
Time travel. Nobody's perfect.
This Harrison Ford voice, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
It comes in and out.
It's not great, but it's pretty good. It's right on the edge between Batman, Christian Bale, and Harrison Ford. But
belongs in a museum.
What? When are we going to talk about the end?
Let it go.
Do we talk about the ending? Maybe? Can I just say my favorite caption, maybe in any movie, are the Indiana Jones captions where it just says shouts in German. Like so often during the fight scenes, it's just like shouts in German.
Good.
That's just
good
the captions.
Things.
Do you watch with captions? I forget.
Yes.
All the time? Like 100%?
With a baby? Yes.
Pre-baby, though. What about pre-baby?
Pre-baby, no.
Yeah. I go back and forth.
I don't know what's changed. Movies or me? Could be a bit of both.
I think both. There's actually a whole video, Vox.com did it, of like why stuff is hard to understand now. Did you see that video?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The audio mixer was like, I don't have anything to work with. There's no volume to raise. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So in this movie, this plot is MacGuffin.
Yes.
Him and Marion are not together at the beginning, which is a shame because I'm pretty sure at the end of the last one that we all saw once, I believe he marries Marion.
Yes.
As like a 60-year-old.
Yeah, they do a flashback of that, I thought. Yeah,
right.
anyway.
I think that they should still be together. I'll refer to my rewrite at the end of this episode.
Okay.
But
yes.
I'm not sure if I believe, like, the whole divorce papers things feels like a contrivance that I was like, man, you worked so hard to get these people together and you're just going to undo it to bring extra drama to this?
Yeah. And it was unnecessary drama. There's already a lot of stuff going on in this movie. I don't think we need
I'm also going to say this.
Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, really liked her as an actress. She really had some gusto to her character.
She did.
But the connection between her and Harrison Ford, I'm not sure there's just no relational chemistry there. There's just not like...
The betrayal gives you something because, like, you know, that's...
What
makes you mad.
Thrusts Indiana Jones through this movie is supposed to be like protect her because she's her godchild. But their relationship and their interactions is so forced and so like I have the feeling like these two actors do not like each other, and I have nothing to go off of.
I
except
do wonder,
that there's something they don't seem to connect. It could be a script thing, and we don't even need to talk about Teddy. Teddy for me is Teddy's around, but
now wait a minute, Teddy. Who is Teddy? I forget.
Who is Teddy?
Who is Teddy?
You tell me who Teddy is. Teddy's in this. Teddy's a big important part of this movie.
Is it the kid? Is that Teddy?
Teddy's the kid.
Teddy's the kid. Yeah, I feel like that was
Teddy's barely important to Helena, and therefore I have to care about Teddy through the eyes of Indiana Jones at some point in time because he's important to her and she's important to him. And at some point in time, he yells like, "They have Teddy," and I'm like,
"So
sorry, man."
Antonio Banderas is in this movie for like a minute, also.
Did he want to be in it for only a cameo?
I don't know. But to your point about like their relationship, so there's this scene where the bad guys find them on this random boat in the ocean as they're looking for the Graphico Archimedica, whatever that is.
MacGuffin to the MacGuffin.
Right, and then they do this thing, removed. And then Mads shoots Antonio Banderas, and unceremoniously he just dies on the boat. And then Harrison Ford and I forget both her character name and her actress name. Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
And Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Helena. They both escape on the boat, and she like laughs out of like this like joyous laugh because they just escaped. She's like, "Hey, we escaped." Harrison Ford's like, "I just watched my friend die." I don't know what that was. You knew I was gonna try and do it. I had to try and do it once, but I was like, "Yeah, this is awkward. Everything about this exchange is awkward." The fact that she's laughing.
And then he moves on. He
moves on very quickly. He moves on very quickly.
To melt the Graphicos wax or whatever.
The Graphicos wax, excellent band name. Let me just say.
Ooh, yes.
Someone should name their band Graphicos Wax.
They set up all of these characters, and even like his old buddy, who is supposed to be the dad, Basil Shaw, played by Toby Jones. He's supposed to be the dad of Helena.
Right.
Was he in old movies? Was I supposed to care about him in a different way? He always plays a German in the ones that I see, so all of a sudden he's a professor at Oxford, and I was like...
I didn't want to say it, but he's always like... He was in that Tetris movie.
He's kind of snivelly guy.
Playing the same kind of character. He's supposed to be like
the little...
He's always the snivelly guy. Oh, he was in Jurassic World, too. I'm looking at... Was he not in Marvel movies at some point? Am I crazy?
I think in the Captain America Winter Soldier
Yes,
stuff,
he was Zola. Yeah. Arnim Zola. Again, a German Nazi. He plays that in every movie. He was also in the Hunger Games. But anyway. Yeah, it was weird.
But like, I mean, couldn't we have Sala be in that part instead? Couldn't we have de-aged John Rhys Davies back there? Nice. And we have like, we already know this character and we care about him.
Yeah, that
because
nice.
Again, we have to care about Helena through the eyes of her dad, who we barely saw in a de-aged scene.
And he was just hiding
later
under a table,
like an in-between scene, and I spent all those times looking at the AI face.
That's all I was doing.
Indiana Jones. But it's like they have so much. Maybe they couldn't build off of stuff, but they have so many good characters, and instead they have like Sala just bringing groceries at the end, or being like sending them off on a boat.
He got relegated hard. It was not fun. Yeah. Before we get to the rewrite, we have to at least talk about the ending, though, like the actual ending of this movie, because they get the dial. Mads gets the dial. They fly through the sphincter of a time cloud or whatever.
Freddy flies a plane.
Yeah, a little.
Also, I think in order to get them back through, it felt like a type of circular logic. Like, we need Harrison Ford to be able to get out of Sicily in the year 400.
You didn't want me to talk about time travel on this episode. I'm just saying there's grandfather paradoxes all over the place.
Well, I don't mind that.
The
I
dial.
don't mind the paradoxy sort of stuff. I don't mind the like, hey, the dial of destiny works because you saw it work from later on. That's all fine for me. Right. I just feel like this boy who randomly in a casino scene is sitting there at a fake console.
Yes.
Talking to a pilot about driving planes never comes up. It's not like a character feature. He's like more of a pickpocket than anything.
Yes.
And then later on, it's like, hey, I know how to fly that random plane.
Through a storm, through the time sphincter, wild. Anyway,
They meet
They
Archimedes.
they go
Harrison
to
Ford
400.
literally goes back to Rome with Mads Mikkelsen.
yes, they literally go back in time at the end of this movie, which I don't know if I want to say I was okay with it. I would have accepted it, maybe, but it was a little much. It was a little much even for Indiana Jones, and so
Indiana Jones, seeing the history that he loves, all of a sudden helps me remember he is in fact an archaeology professor and not
Right.
just an adventurer.
yes,
And that's kind of cool to oh, he loves this stuff. He loves history.
yeah.
As he watched his people get murdered with the spears.
So
And he's
literally.
yeah, let me just hang out here and watch a war.
Okay, so they fight or whatever, and there's this moment where they can escape and go back to their real time because the sphincter's closing, and Harrison Ford literally wants to stay in whatever 400 AD, 400 BC, something like that. He's gonna stay in history. Nate, let me ask you something. If
He is
Harrison
also bleeding out. He got shot.
also died.
And they say the shoulder. I dare you to watch it again because that is the heart, my friend.
It's not the shoulder.
Reddit people think, no, he drank the fountain of youth or whatever. He drank the Holy Grail once, so
Oh, the
therefore he
Grail.
can live longer. But
yeah.
he
Yeah.
bleeds out for a long time, and then I think he forgets he's bleeding out.
The
through some of
action
the
scenes in this movie do not support the fact that Holy Grail helps him not age as much. But anyway,
Right. Anyway.
if he would have stayed in that ancient Rome time, what is he going to do, Nate?
Die
is
on
he
that
gonna
hill.
But climb, get a job?
No,
He's
he's
gonna
going to
live?
die.
He just
10
wants to stay
minutes
there and
later,
die.
he will die.
He just wants to stay there and die. He just wants
Yeah.
to see this whatever.
He wants
I
to see
mean-
history and die.
Is that a good
Cool?
choice? Is
No,
that
not a good choice. He got
No,
punched in the
he's-
face.
well,
and
yeah.
then They dragged a grown man, Teddy,
Yes.
random Italian pilot, and Phoebe, or
Yes.
Helena. All
Drag
dragged that
Harrison
guy
Ford.
back into the plane
Yes.
during the war and flew their way back through the sphincter back to modern times.
I'm glad
Always
I'm glad you picked up my sphincter. I'm glad you.
I love it. I loved it each time, so I wanted to have a little fun.
Thank
I wanted
you,
to
thank
jump
you.
in that space with you.
Thank you. Yes.
They kind of hand waved to and he's back in his bed. All is fine, or whatever.
Yeah.
But did he get medical attention?
Who knows?
Oh, by the way, I keep saying Harrison Ford. It's the same. Is Indiana Jones still wanted for murder from the beginning?
Right.
Because remember that plot device?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know.
This movie is a muddled mess that feels like it had a lot of writers on it, a lot of rewrites, and a
Yeah.
lot of not cohesive plot. And that is something, to Steven Spielberg's credit, he gave followable plots.
That is true.
One thing led to the next thing, led to the
Yeah,
next thing. The
right.
scenes made sense.
Right. Coherence.
Has a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. We're just in a new action set piece. He's riding a horse through a CG parade, which I've
Right.
learned later. I had to look up where Hunter College was to figure out that it was in New York. And that, because he was originally working at University of Chicago and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I wasn't sure where he was.
It's too much backstory that you'd be looking up, Nate. It's too much. Okay, so tell me about your rewrite. How would you rewrite this movie?
Okay.
To be better? To be different?
I hope better, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Okay. I do away with the flashback scene. I start
Sure.
right with disgruntled Indiana Jones getting out of bed. He's old. He's angry. There's a note in the kitchen table from Marion. Gone to my sister's for a few days. He goes back to work at University of Chicago. He's back in the place where he was before. Okay?
Okay.
She's still with him, but maybe things are rocky.
And Archimedes appears through a time sphincter in the middle of his classroom. What is Nate's getting on the floor. I don't know what's happening.
No, cut this out.
Did you lose an AirPod?
I did. All right,
Okay.
cut this out.
All right, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Drop
Movie
a mark.
begins. Disgruntled Harrison Ford gets up in bed. I love the scene of angry old Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
looking old and very
That's a
angry.
shtick. It's great.
Yeah. He sees a note on the kitchen table from Marion. Gone to my sister's for a few days. Things are a little rocky. He goes to an archaeology class. He's still a professor there. I love the retiring. Kids don't pay attention to it. In that scene, he speaks of the Nazis accumulating occult items and trying to hide them towards the fall of the Nazi regime. He starts to talk about the Ark of the Covenant, and he's like about to kind of light up about it. The bell rings, all the kids are uninterested, they leave,
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
So he's kind of like a disgruntled, he's out of the game. He's just...
Sure.
Okay. Sala
And
writes...
movie.
And
Credits roll. Okay.
Sala, his friend,
Yes.
John Rhys Davies, wrote a book about their adventures. He wants
Right.
Indiana to go to a book signing. And he's like, bring your hat, bring your whip. Like, these are iconic things. Do it.
Right.
And Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, doesn't want to go. All right? Phoebe Waller-Bridge is there at the book signing. Okay? She is the daughter of his friend, who I'd like to be played by somebody else, but oh well. She's young. She's she's an archaeologist student. She's that's what she says. She peppers him with questions about the stories. She shows amazing knowledge. When his hat falls off the table during the book signing, she quickly snags it with unusual speed, and while she does it, he sees a gun holster on her. He warns her, hey, be careful out there, like, what's going on? She says, like, just like you were careful. End scene. It sets them up as having a history together. I would even say it could be Sala's daughter or granddaughter, so even more of a connection. Okay. He plans to... Okay. He goes home with the plans to call his friend, who's still alive, did not die, about his daughter and like seeing this gun, worried about her, everything. But he gets a late night call from the CIA. They have half of the Dial of Destiny. They want him to come in and authenticate it. He comes in to authenticate it. Mad Mikkelsen is with the CIA. He's there as their consultant. He looks at Indiana Jones like he's seen a ghost. He's like, who are you? Indiana Jones doesn't recognize him, doesn't know him at all. Like, I don't know who you are. But then he authenticates it. He blows their mind with the knowledge. Mads Mikkelsen is impressed. Later, we learn that the CIA, the daughter, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, works for the CIA. So that's why the gun and the whole thing. And she invites Dr. Jones to go to Sicily to search for the second piece. They have a dig team there. They're ready to acquire and put together the Dial of Destiny. They don't believe it has any magical powers. They're just there to like work it all. But they know that there is an element out there trying to put this all together. He says no. He doesn't want to be a part of it. Doesn't want anything to do with it. He's old and disgruntled. He just wants to live out his days in peace, kind of thing. Okay? Then he talks to Marion on the phone. He apologizes for not being himself. And the man, he's kind of just downtrodden. He's like, he's not physically able to do what he used to do. His best years are behind him. So we're really dealing with like an old, like broken down Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. He says, but before like he goes home the next day to her, she's back at home. Nazis kidnap him, take him to Sicily. He is also like, they are trying to beat the CIA to get the second thing. He is kidnapped by the Nazis. We can do the whole shipwreck scene, all the thing. Along the way, he calls in for reinforcements from our friend Ki Hui Kwan.
Yes,
Short Round has grown up.
Yes. From Loki 2.
He's got the hat and everything. He's back and he's like helping him out in something. He escapes the thing. He does the pickpocketing. We removed Teddy entirely from this movie, by the way. And so the grown-up Short Round is doing great. He's like, a man of means now and is like still friends with him. Okay. So using his brain, not his brawn, he kind of thins the Nazi numbers by leading them into traps as they head and get the second part of the medallion, right?
Okay.
The Dial of Destiny. Okay. Then the daughter and the CIA engage with the Nazis. A big action scene, fight. They rescue Indy from them. It's all good. They come back to the CIA. They get rid of the other Nazis. Go back to the CIA. They connect it all together. It's Mads Mikkelsen, CIA daughter, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Indiana Jones. They connect it. It transports Indiana Jones back to the train scene. So we're back to the train scene. He goes. Now we're there. He goes to like retrieve the very first half of the Dial of Destiny. Meets Phoebe Waller-Bridge's dad. And like the dad recognizes him as old Indiana Jones. He's like, it is real. And that's why the dad ends up obsessed with it, because he has seen Indiana Jones back in the past. Do it.
Sure.
This is old Indiana Jones. And then he runs into Mads Mikkelsen. He realizes at that point, old Indiana Jones realized, oh, Mads Mikkelsen is the Nazi. He's not good. He realized that that's why Mads Mikkelsen recognized him. He jumps back to the present time, transported there. Oh, and by the way, he rescues his friend so that his friend can go on to have a daughter and like save his life. So old Indiana Jones rescues him and maybe doesn't interact directly with young Indiana Jones, but you can put young Indiana Jones in there somewhere.
They would do it like in Indiana Jones. They would go be like back to back for a second, like maybe there's like a scuffle or whatever, and they like hit back to back, and you see like
he like protects his own life, like he like covers Indiana Jones's six,
something something like that.
But
they never see each other. They never look at each other's face.
Kind of like guardian angel sort of thing. He protects them along the way.
That would
he
be
jumps back into the present, and by now he knows that Mads Mikkelsen is bad. And they're about to go off, and Mads Mikkelsen's about to turn on everyone and destroy the daughter and the CIA.
Right.
But he rescues them. They get into a scuffle. Then him and Mads grab both the Dial of Destiny at the same time, and then they fly back into time. We can go back to the Romans if you want, very briefly. And Mads gets killed by Romans. I'm cool with that. I don't want any planes. I just want good old-fashioned time travel. They're just back on the ground. War is happening. Mads Mikkelsen gets killed. Indiana Jones thinks about staying there, then realizes through a bunch of flashbacks, including old movie footage, all of the things that are valuable in his life. He remembers Short Round growing up. He remembers the daughter and their relationship growing up. And he sees that even though he's not going on these big adventures anymore, there is value in the relationships that he had, not just with Marion,
flashback to him
but with all
married,
the people.
Maybe,
with all the people that he've actually impacted in a positive way, and how this Phoebe Waller-Bridge looks up to him, and all these other people, realizes it's a wonderful lifestyle. It's better if he's around. Hops back and goes back to Marion. They can have that scene at the end, and he goes back with a new spunk as his archaeology doesn't retire. Says, I'm going to teach a little bit longer. And this time, instead of being a disgruntled teacher, he's like an excited teacher. And he's like, I want to tell you about, and then he starts with, it was a scene, and then it goes, like, the scene that he starts telling is the very first Indiana Jones scene.
Oh, that's good.
The end.
That's good. You literally rewrote the entire movie. I mean, this
I did. That's why I was late to this recording, and I'm sorry.
I mean, it's amazing you did that in the 15 minutes that the recording. I think that would be a good movie. I think it might have been better than this movie. I feel like that ending would have been a little more cathartic and more like enough nostalgia injected into like a goodbye that it would have felt more final. Because that is something I feel like I didn't get, was like the goodbye. You know, seeing Indiana's hat or whatever, and they're sitting on a balcony is like, okay, but it didn't feel like this is the closing the back of the book, you know, you're closing the cover over or whatever. So I liked your ending better. I think time travel would have been used to greater effect in your scenario as well, because I think there's such a build up to the time travel in the actual movie, and then like that is wrapped up into this plane chase fight thing, that it's just like it's so much going on. It's like I don't know what to care about right now.
Yeah, and
like,
maybe you don't even have to have time travel. Maybe you just have to have time viewing. We go back to our like Ben Affleck Paycheck, where you get to like look back into the past. Like you don't even have to have it as weird as fully time traveling somewhere.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I think you did a good rewrite, Nate.
Thank you.
I think it's very good. And, well, now it might knock down my rating even lower, knowing it could have been better.
I forgot we have to review this.
We have to review. We at least have to give it a rating. I'll go first. I made you go first last time. I'll go first. I'm going to give this movie. This might be a little gracious, because I feel like there's some Indiana Jones, like, just oeuvre around the rating. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. I mean, the chase through Morocco, it was fun. The little car chase and stuff, like fun moments, funny. There were funny moments, you know. I'll give it that. Mads Mikkelsen is a good bad guy, no matter what, even if he's like wrapped up in a weird plot. The de-aging was interesting to see, even if it was a little uncanny sometimes.
It was interesting.
It was interesting to see. I feel like, you know, it's cool that a movie pushes it as far as it'll go, so we can see it on screen and be like, "What do we think about this? This is the best we can do." Okay, it's all right. You know, I think that's valuable. And it's Indiana Jones. Like, Harrison Ford still has an amount of charisma around him that even if like the plot and some of the stuff is a little disjointed, like it's Harrison Ford. You can't. And the scene right as Antonio Banderas is shot, like when she's like talking through this thing, pretending to translate it a certain way, and they're talking about the Library of Alexandria. Like you like those moments. It's fun to hear about all these historical names and stuff. So that's something that's good aspect.
It felt a lot more National Treasure to me than Indiana Jones. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Why one feels so different than the other. I felt very National Treasure-y in it.
I think National Treasury is more MacGuffin driven, and I think this movie was
That's why.
More MacGuffin driven, and like maybe a little more exposition than like the other Indiana Jones movies, because National Treasure's got a lot of exposition.
Didn't you think that Antonio Banderas was going to end up being more in this movie?
I thought so. I thought he was going to be a bad guy.
Bad
like
guy.
I thought he was
Like turn on him.
Something. Right. I mean, he's like one of the top billed cast in this movie. Like
he
not
got third
in it
billing, I think.
Third billing
for a cameo appearance.
Not very long. So yeah, I do wish he was. I think maybe wish he was a little more in it. I don't know, but I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5. What do you say?
I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. I think in a lot of ways it was devoid of a lot of fun. I think it had the shell of what should be fun and good. I think the action scenes were a little bit too drenched in CG environment.
There was some CG environment.
Like that parade, I couldn't get a place and a feeling for it.
Yeah.
I liked the tomb scenes were pretty good when they walked into like the big canyon. I was like, well, that's like a really impressive looking shot, and that felt good. And like, all right, we're here in history. But Sicily was just kind of a sound stage. Morocco or Marrakesh or wherever they were, like it felt like a real CG sound stage. It was all a little shiny. It felt a little bit like the live action Aladdin, where it had him jumping around kind of.
I'm still mad about that version of One Jump. The version of One Jump Ahead.
It kind of had that sort of feeling to me. Like it felt a little devoid of real places, and I like more of a gritty look to it, I guess. I did, however, special shout out to Klauber and Hauk, the 2 mini boss like Nazi guys. The one really big guy.
The one big guy was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that
He was
guy.
good. And then the other guy had a very, very punchable face, as we talked about it in the past.
Very punchable face. And I think he does get punched. I think he does.
I think so. By Indiana Jones, I think.
Right. No, that's it. Well, this is the final. I think we could say is the final Indiana Jones Harrison Ford. Do you think they'll redo? Do you think they'll get a different Indiana Jones and do another one?
I think they're all done.
This is all done. Wrap it up.
They could do a spin-off maybe, but it would have to not be Indiana Jones. It'd have to be like I don't know.
I don't even know. No, this has got to be the last one.
Let it
Close the book. Close the book.
Let it be.
Let it be. If you'd like to hear an even more unhinged version of this podcast, you can listen to our bonus episode, which we covered some ground today. Covered lots of ground. You get a bonus episode every time we do a movie review. You can get it at patreon.com/moviesontheside or directly on Apple Podcasts. I don't know if you knew this, Nate. We actually have a few dozen listeners because I hadn't looked at like our Apple Podcast numbers recently, and we got people there too. There's people listening in both places, Patreon and Apple Podcasts. So we got some bonus listeners. Nate is so excited right now. Nate. No, I know what Nate's doing. He's looking for a line to say in the voice of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, so he can close out the show. Anyway, patreon.com/moviesontheside or directly on Apple Podcast. You can also watch these episodes, youtube.com/@moviesontheside. And as we always say,
going to the moon is like going to Reno and discovering they don't have blackjack. It's a bad.
Is that a line from this movie?
It is. Going to the moon is like going to Reno and discovering they don't have blackjack. I have to repeat this one more time, Stephen. It doesn't matter what you believe, but how hard you believe it.
That's a terrible philosophy for both life and that's not a good.
That is what Harrison Ford, man. That is what Indiana Jones believes, that it doesn't matter what you believe, but how hard you believe it. He's saying that kind of positively.
I mean, you can believe really hard that you could fly. But it's not going to end well.
I would say you could. The best way to say this is that it kind of matters what you believe. And how hard you believe it, I guess.
I think it's that.
It sometimes matters what you believe.
I'll tell you what, I'll change it to make it a little more palatable, okay? And I'll keep the first part the same. Ready? It doesn't matter what you believe. Just don't be an asshole. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe. Just don't be a jerk. I feel like that, I think that really gets to the crux of it. You know what I mean?
If you find yourself believing really hard in something, also, if you find out that aliens have come to Earth and you didn't believe in aliens before, but you've seen the crystal skull of an alien and talked to an alien, maybe anything's possible.
It doesn't matter what you believe unless you're a flat earther, and then you can suck it. You can just...
you can believe it as hard as you want. It doesn't make it true.
It doesn't make it true. I'm going to put bleeps for all of that, and then people can just wonder what I was saying.
That's good stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm
Stephen.
working on my profanity.